All right, let's jump right in. What we're about to explore is a pretty wild theory, one that connects things you'd never think to put together: the physics of black holes, the nature of debt, and a rereading of ancient scripture as, well, as a kind of technical manual for reality itself. It's a massive idea, so let's get started.
This quote right here really cuts to the core of the problem this whole framework is trying to solve. Now, I know what you're thinking. What on earth is S equals 2, U equals 2? We're going to get to that, I promise. But the main takeaway here is that at a certain extreme, debt stops being about a simple financial transaction and turns into something much, much more sinister. This is our ground zero.
So, to really get our heads around this, we first have to kind of stop thinking like economists and start thinking like physicists. The whole proposal here is that a truly predatory debt trap doesn't behave like a market glitch, it behaves like a fundamental force of nature.
Now, this is where the analogy gets really specific. We all know a black hole bends spacetime so much that not even light can escape. Well, this theory argues that a predatory loan does the same thing, but it bends economic spacetime around a person. The interest, the fees, they grow faster than anyone could possibly work, creating what's called an economic event horizon, a literal point of no return.
And this right here is the gut punch. The argument is that it's not about being smarter or working harder, it's about the math. It's about the very geometry of the situation. Once you're past that event horizon, no amount of effort can create enough escape velocity to break free. The structure itself has trapped you.
Okay, so if debt can literally act like gravity, then how in the world do we measure its real impact? Well, the framework says there's a tool for that, a way to calculate the true cost of a loan, not just in dollars and cents, but in, well, in moral terms.
And here it is, the Reality Tensor Debt Matrix. It sounds super complex, but it's actually pretty simple. It just maps any loan on two axes. First, scarcity. How many other choices does the person have? Is it a buyer's or a seller's market? And second, urgency. How desperately do they need this? You know, a business loan you take when you have lots of options and time is down in the bottom left, productive leverage. But a loan you take when you have zero other options and it's a life or death situation, that's the top right. That's the hostage situation. That's S is 2, U is 2.
So the whole point of this matrix is to calculate something called moral debt. And we're not talking about a feeling or, a metaphor. The framework defines this as a literal measurable amount of a person's future potential, their future energy, their future work, their thermodynamic capacity that's taken from them. It's a number that represents real harm.
So really, you can think of this matrix as a kind of diagnostic tool. It's designed to draw a very clear, very bright line between debt that helps build the world up and debt that just tears a person's world down, extracting value until there's nothing left.
All right, everybody take a deep breath because we are about to take a hard left turn. We've been talking about physics and economics, but now this framework connects all of it to some of the most ancient texts we have, arguing they aren't just stories. There's something else entirely.
This is it. This is the claim that sits at the absolute center of the whole theory. The idea that Scripture isn't just a collection of moral allegories, but a precise, technical description of the laws that govern reality itself, written in a kind of code that we're only just now advanced enough to decipher.
Let's look at a real example. Do not steal. Simple enough, right? A moral rule. But this framework translates it into a physical law. Stealing is an act that violates thermodynamic reciprocity. It's taking energy out of a closed system without putting any work back in. And what happens when you do that? The whole system becomes unstable.
Or take this one, do not bear false witness. In this model, a lie isn't just a sin, it's like injecting a virus into a computer network. You're introducing false data. It corrupts the information, it increases the system's chaos, its entropy, and it makes everything less coherent, less efficient. It literally adds heat and noise to the system.
So, just to sum this part up and be perfectly clear, the argument isn't that the Bible is like a physics book. The argument is that it is a physics book. It's a technical manual for the operating system of the universe, covering everything from thermodynamics to information theory.
So the obvious question becomes, if this code is so powerful and it's been right there in front of us this whole time, why did we lose it? The next part of the theory has a diagnosis for that, and it argues that powerful institutions had a very good reason to make sure we couldn't read it.
This concept is called the inverted dictionary. The claim is that, to hold on to power, institutions took these core virtues and systematically flipped their meanings. Love was twisted into unquestioning submission,
Peace was redefined as the enforced silence of victims. Faith became blind obedience. By inverting the very language, the original, liberating message became almost impossible to see.
And this idea connects directly to the parable of the talents. The argument goes that the talent, this incredibly valuable, liberating knowledge, wasn't invested and shared for everyone's benefit. No, it was buried in the ground, hidden out of fear. Fear that if people really understood the true code, the earthly power structures built by these institutions would just dissolve.
So, let's pull all these different threads together. We've got debt that acts like a black hole, morality that can be calculated like a math problem, scripture as a technical manual, and powerful systems that invert language to stay in control. What does this all add up to?
The final, mind-bending conclusion is a complete recalculation of reality itself. It suggests we live in a universe where things like good and evil aren't just matters of opinion or culture. They are measurable forces. Harm is a quantifiable extraction of energy. Justice is just the thermodynamic balancing of the books. In this view, morality is simply a branch of physics we haven't been paying attention to.
And all of that leaves us with this one final question to chew on. If you could put a number on everything, if every law, every loan, every single lie had a clear, objective price tag showing the value it created or destroyed, what kind of a world would we choose to build?